Okay, we're going to get going here. We're a little behind. If everyone can take a seat. My name is Ron Levine. I'm the editorial director for SIA. I've been with SIPA about 4 years now. I'm the track chair for this is the content marketing track. And this is our first session, developing your complete content marketing strategy. I'm very fortunate to have two very good speakers here with me that I've heard before. I've been very impressed. One is Molly Lindblom. She is the principal for business transformations, and previously she's been with LexisNexis, CourtLink, a startup, and a specialty publishing for the American Institute of Architects. And next to her is Chris Moffa from Kiplinger. He's been with Kiplinger for 15 years now. Time flies. And he's done pre-conferences for us that have been very well received. So we're going to start with Molly.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for attending this session. This is really the foundational session for the content marketing track. We'll obviously be focusing on the development of strategy, and that's the first step to having a very effective content marketing program. Where'd the clicker go? Aha, you got it. Good.
You like it? Take it.
No,
you drive it.
You're good.
All right.
All right, so content marketing has actually been around for quite some time. People haven't been using the term until, say, the last 10 or 15 years. But think about John Deere. They were the first people to get involved in content marketing, or the first company. They published a magazine called Furrow. And I feel like I need to kind of tip my hat when I do that to the farmers. Furrow focused on the customers for John Deere, the folks who bought their tractors and their farm equipment, or their prospects. And they got this magazine out to those folks to give them a little additional detail on not only using their products, but also life in farming in general. Jump forward another 50 years, we got Jell-O coming out. Big difference between the two target markets. But this was Jell-O's cookbook, and they were the first consumer products company to get into it. That was followed by many others, including Procter & Gamble. And Procter got into soap operas. The reason they were called soap operas was because Procter was promoting their detergent, their laundry detergent, and got a lot of product placement and help with the content as well. Things really didn't get started, though, until the internet came about. And a few years after that, when we started getting all these devices, we got laptops, we were more mobile, then we got into smartphones and into tablets. Suddenly, we had access to the internet all the time, regardless of where we were. And to feed that demand, for folks who wanted to go online, find out about their friends, find out about products, buy something, all of a sudden, these new channels popped up. Of course, we've got Facebook. LinkedIn came out. But then we got things like YouTube that were much more engaging than some of the other things had been online. Another great example is Pinterest, which has become, interestingly enough, not only a B2C tool, but a B2B tool as well. I think it was actually Luis who told me one day he went on Pinterest and found out something about groundwater, or wells handling groundwater, or something along those lines. So Pinterest is big in the game also. What is content marketing? Content marketing is using all of these different types of tools in order to publish information and use that information to get your customers through the sales pipeline. The focus is on driving revenue. At the end of the day, that's what content is. Don't worry about Twitter or LinkedIn or all the different vehicles. It's simple. It's about driving your customers through the pipeline using content. And obviously, publishers are very well positioned to do that. Quick story about some content marketing in my life. A few years ago, I decided I wanted to get a new car. I wanted to get a hybrid. I knew they were out there, didn't really know much about what was out there, not particularly educated on the car front. So I started by going out to auto manufacturers' sites, learned a little bit more about what they had to say about their hybrids. Then I went to magazines, auto magazines, read some reviews, found out what was going on that front, began to narrow things down. But I was a little concerned that I wasn't getting a third-party perspective. So typed in that I wanted some information on a hybrid, came up with a blog, hybridcars.com. Excellent name for your blog if you're covering hybrid cars. From that experience, went through quite a bit of information and narrowed it down to just 2 cars. That was in the course of a couple hours. Then started talking to friends, big on word of mouth, making sure that I'm not making a bad decision, and spoke to friends, family, neighbors who had cars that were the type that I was interested in. That helped me develop my mental checklist. What should I be looking for? What should I avoid? Starting to sway towards a single car. At that point, got back on the auto manufacturer's website, wanted to find a little bit more about pricing, used a tool, build your own Prius. They had something similar for the other cars. Built it up, looked at the features, looked at the different pricing. In the process, they asked me, hey, you want to sign up for our website? You'll get special promotions. I signed up. They found out in that process I was going to be buying very shortly. Within a week, I had bought a Prius. They gave me a fantastic deal online that was kind of buy now, because they knew I was thinking about buying now. But the point here is I used all of those different sources of content, some proprietary, some not, to help make my decision. And it drove me down the pipeline, and it drove me down that pipeline real quickly. That's what content marketing is supposed to do. The reason people get into content marketing, and you'll see everybody's in content marketing these days. It's not just publishers. We heard about Marriott being in that area. Associations have gotten big into this space. 80% of B2B decision makers prefer reading articles. They want to look at that content that's more in-depth, that educates them, rather than just looking at ads to help them make a decision. That means there's a lot of spending these days on content marketing. It's getting very crowded. Back in 2000, there was roughly $20 billion that was spent on content marketing. 12 years later, that had more than doubled. And in the projections for this year is that $40 billion will go up to $44 billion by the end of the year. So it's rising very rapidly, becoming very popular. And over 90% of B2B content marketers are playing in this space. Doesn't mean they're all doing it well, and we'll talk later about some stats on this front, but it does mean a lot of people are in this area, and there's competition there. Why do you want to get in this game? You don't want to do it just because everybody else is doing it. Well, the reason so many people are doing it is, one, it's very efficient. You drive many more leads through content marketing. Obviously, that's part of your pipeline. You actually get three times more leads per dollar spent through content marketing than you do pay-per-click. So that's a very powerful number, and when you consider the fact that people who are taking a look at your content, particularly taking a look at it repeatedly, downloading your content, giving you their contact information, are much more likely to be interested in your product. You can get a more targeted audience through content marketing when it comes to those leads you're generating. It's also less expensive, about 30% less expensive than paid search, so that's also a good thing. The other thing that's really nice about, can you guys hear me when I stand away from the mic? Okay, it is working for a minute. I didn't think it was. The other thing that's really nice about content marketing is it's effective. And that's what we want out of our marketing programs. Some of the ways in which it's effective include word of mouth. I mentioned in my hybrid buying experience, it was very important for me to talk to my friends, family, other purchasers who had experience with the car, because I wanted to, that's a big decision. It's a large amount of money. I wanted to make sure I wasn't making the wrong decision. And your friends can help you out with that. Obviously, you trust them. You trust third parties more than you trust other individuals. The other thing that's really important, or a few other things that are really important about content marketing when it comes to efficiency, is lead generation, we discussed. Blogging in particular really helps you out. If you blog on a frequent basis, I don't mean daily, weekly, bi-weekly is fine, you're still getting somewhere between 20 and 52 posts per year from your blog if you do it with that frequency. That increases the number of people that will come look at your site and increases the number of leads. So that's a beautiful thing. It also feeds your search engine optimization. It's the most effective way to do that. Google recently switched out their algorithm. Their algorithm is what determines what results you see. Excuse me, when you type something in. They moved to something called Hummingbird. Don't know why it's called that. But it's focused on context, trying to understand what is the person trying to do with these repeated searches. And it looks back weeks at what you've searched on. Content marketing feeds into this because it provides context as well. Excuse me. So how do you get started? First thing you want to do is document your content marketing, or your content marketing strategy. Why do you want to do that? Because marketers that are most effective in content marketing are 50% more likely to have a documented strategy. It's a must to make sure you're going in the right direction. So this is a process. When we talk about this strategy, it's not linear. It'd be nice if it started at one point and finished at another point, and that's all there was to it. But because the world changes around us all the time when it comes to technology, Google changes their algorithms, some things work, some things don't work, this needs to be a process. Start with your situation analysis, understand the landscape, develop your marketing goals. You want to develop personas, and Chris will walk you through a really nice one they have for Kiplinger. Then you want to get your strategies developed. Then you go into your plans. Launching your plans, measuring and analyzing is the next big step, and then you adjust. And making adjustments is constant when we're talking about this form of communication with our customers, because it's all about engagement. And we got to figure out what works and what doesn't work. So with that, Chris is going to get into the detail of developing a strategy and plan, walking through a business case that he led up at Kiplinger.
Molly.
You're welcome.
Didn't lead up anything at Kiplinger. I work with the whole staff of people there. Denise Elliott is the vice president of marketing. If anyone headed it up, it was Denise. I was helping her. I'm the marketing director there. Well, Kiplinger doesn't have a long, successful history of launching new products. We're an old established company, and there are some well-known products that we've had published for 80 years or so. But recently, our track record of product development has not been stellar, or certainly not been frequent. So we had some simple business objectives, and one of them was to get modern, and another one was to simply launch something. And we thought we should serve a niche where we kind of have a reputation for investing information. I think a lot of people think of Kiplinger in terms of, well, they're those folks that do investing publications. Well, we actually didn't have any publications that have the word investing in the title. We wanted to serve that niche. We wanted to launch what for us would be a higher priced publication. Most of our publications intro price are in the $29 range, $38 range, $49 range. We were trying to get north of $50. We have a hard time getting our subscribers to pay more than that once we bring them in at a low price. We never get them over that. We wanted to start higher. And we wanted to give our existing customers something new to buy. We sell a lot of product to our existing customers. My guess is you do the same. Your existing customer is always your best customer. So we wanted to put something else on the table that we could sell to them. So in looking at the situation, we had to do a couple of things. Identify our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's just the classic SWOT case. It's what you do. Our strengths included things like having an awful lot of on-hand customers, subscribers, to our existing publications. Kiplinger has a large magazine. It's on the newsstands. We're fortunate in that regard. There are several 100,000 people that subscribe to that magazine, so the name is well known. That's a strength. Can't deny that. We've got a good reputation among our readers. We are legitimate. We are credible. Can't deny that. So the word Kiplinger on it suggests that it's not fly-by-night. We've got a strong editorial department. They know the subject matter. We've been doing this for a long time. A lot of people trust Kiplinger already, so that credibility and that strong editorial is built in. And we're good at marketing. It's what we do. It's how we've made our money all these years. So we felt like selling this thing was going to be something we could easily do. It's important to remember, sometimes people think Kiplinger is this big company and they've got this magazine and it's in the newsstands and the supermarkets and everybody knows about Kiplinger and they've got all this money. The fact is it's a relatively small company. It's large by some standards, but it is a small business. There are about 90 people there altogether. For the sake of this newsletter launch, there were only 6 people involved. This was not a major corporation coming out and launching some sort of media blitz. This was 6 people standing around opening mail by hand in the offices on the 7th floor of some building, and we would all get in a room together and take out the little return forms and count them up and put the $59 in one pile and the $99 in another pile. That's what Kiplinger was doing. So this was very a scalable effort for anyone in this room, whether you have one person doing it or 100. Kiplinger did it this way, and it wasn't a major corporate effort. Weaknesses included exactly that. We didn't have any editorial staff dedicated to this project. We didn't have any marketing department dedicated to this project. We weren't going to be allowed to spend any kind of money. The CFO told us, go ahead, launch a product, have a test. You can't spend anything and you can't fail. Don't come asking me for money. Don't let me see any red ink on the bottom line at the end of 6 months. Okay. We have a highly, let's call it, risk-averse culture, and we haven't launched publications in some time, and so this was going to be something new, and we couldn't fail or spend money. Those were our weaknesses. In addition to all of that, we knew, though, that Kiplinger readers, some of the opportunities for us outweighed the weaknesses. We get lots and lots of questions to our magazine staff and to our business writing staff. We get questions by phone, by email, by handwritten letter. We get posts sent to our blogs. We get people clicking links on the website, asking questions about all kinds of stuff. And one of the topics that came up a lot was this subject of investing for income. I'm not going to go through all different kinds of investing, but the point of investing for income is to get a monthly dividend check. You invest in a kind of investment, and one of the things it does is they send you a check every month. Hey, your investment did real well. Here's $100, $200, whatever the heck it is. That's investing for income. Retired people like this stuff. They're in retirement. They don't have a job. They want to have some income. That's why they invest for income. So we knew that that subject was out there. We knew that our readers wanted it, and they were telling us that on the website, and they were telling us by getting in touch with our editors to ask questions. That was a real opportunity. As we began to look at that, we realized there are a fair number of publications out there on investing for income. It's also called investing for dividends. Dividends are a type of instrument that gets paid to you every month. You invest in McDonald's, they send you a dividend check every quarter. McDonald's did real well, here's your share of it. You get paid cash for investing. We knew that people wanted to do that, so we figured there's a market. We knew that the content for this thing could be generated by the guy who writes these stories for the magazine and who writes these stories on the web. So that solved our problem of not being able to hire any staff. Okay, he'll do it for us. He doesn't know it yet, but he's going to write it. And there are lots of other publications out there. That was a dual-edged sword. That might also be considered a threat. Maybe that means that there's a great appetite for this stuff and there's going to be lots of lists that we can market to. Maybe it means that the market is already served. Maybe there's no appetite for yet one more publication on this subject matter. There was a small concern that we might cannibalize our own lists. Kiplinger readers are notoriously cheap, and we can't make them spend more than $29 for their retirement publication. If we were going to offer another publication that covered some of the information they were most interested in, there's a chance that they might cancel one to buy the new one. They might drop the magazine to buy this new publication if it was more about what they really specifically wanted to know. So there was a chance that rather than expand our cross-selling opportunity across our list, there's a real chance Given our market and the way they behave, there was a chance that we would cannibalize one list to build another, rob Peter to pay Paul. But we were going to find that out. Then, of course, there's a significant cost to start any kind of business, to launch any kind of publication. The printing, the mailing costs, we were going to have to try to do some kind of marketing and some kind of content creation that kept that to a minimum. So that was going to mean a lot of making use of web, email, and other online digital efforts. And we also had a limited track record with higher priced publications. We didn't know what would happen when we got over the $50 threshold. So the situation analysis determined what our strategy was going to be, and very briefly, it had to be low cost. It couldn't take any great risks going outside of our comfort zone. We didn't have much success with higher priced pubs. We were going to have to test at 3 higher prices and pick the one that seemed like it was going to be the most reasonable for us. We were going to start with Kiplinger readers who were closest to us and had been with us the longest. We felt the most comfortable that we'd have the greatest success earliest with them. If we had success through these initial phases, we would begin to move to outside lists. We couldn't pay money for outside lists. We would trade lists with other publishers. We didn't have money to set up a fulfillment program at our fulfillment house. So, as I said, any results that came back on the early phases, we're going to come back to Kiplinger. I sat around, Denise, the vice president of marketing, 6 people in a room, opening envelopes. And there was a gun to our head, and we couldn't spend any money. So that was what it was. Given all of that, it's obvious that publishers are in the content marketing business because it's what publishers of traditional publishers do. We create this editorial content, it gets published somewhere, and through reading that, people want more of it, and they come to be aware of it, they engage with it by using it, and eventually we try to sell them some version of it. The example I'm giving here today is how Kiplinger walked through that process of making someone aware, then educating, then engaging, and finally persuading. The steps are the same regardless of what your content actually is. The time frame may be different if you're selling a large contract, if you're selling a government contract, for example, or if you're selling a car, or if you're selling a real estate development plan. This process can take days, weeks, months, or years to make your market aware of your product or service, to educate them about it, to engage them in your company and in your offerings, and then finally persuade them to buy it. In Kiplinger's case, we're a direct response marketing company. This process could take a matter of minutes rather than months or years. A person sees an article on the web or sees a banner on the web, they become aware of something, they click for more information, they get a free sample, that's getting engaged, and the offer to buy is made to them right away. It's the steps that are important, not the length of time it takes to go through that funnel. So then, we started with saying, who are we trying to sell this to? Who do we think is the market for this? And we thought we knew pretty well, for better or worse. I'm not saying it's good or right or anything else. Our core reader is a more than 55-year-old white male. They tend to have pretty healthy incomes, and for us, that's defined as $100,000 or more to invest. That means they've got more than that. They've got $100,000 they can play with. They do invest. They are somewhat educated. They are not day traders clicking around all hours of the day playing with their Fidelity accounts. These are slow and steady, get rich slow is the Kiplinger slogan, kinds of people who have some money laying around and they want to get it right the first time, and they want a reliable source. They want a slow and steady tortoise wins the race approach. They want someone who can be trusted. So Kiplinger's been around for 80, 90 years. This was the kind of person that we were going to market to. We knew that income was the key to the questions that everyone was asking. How do I get more income? How do I get more dividends? So we tested a couple of different titles. All of them had the word cash or dividend or income in them, and eventually Kiplinger's Investing for Income proved to be the best title. How do we do that? You have 100,000 names, you send a third of them an email that says, click here for more information on Kiplinger's Investing for Income. And you send a third of them, you're going to love Kiplinger's Cash Income Investor. And another one, you send 30,000 to 30% of them that says, Kiplinger's Cash Dividend Newsletter is the best thing for sliced bread. Click. And then you count the clicks. And Kiplinger's Investing for Income was the title that everybody wanted. Fewer people wanted the other titles. Boom. Kiplinger's Investing for Income is the name of the publication. So, knowing what the title was going to be, knowing that we had an editor who could write it because he worked for the magazine, he was going to be writing this content anyway, and now we were going to get paid for it for a change. We had some goals that we set in mind. We were pretty ambitious about it, but we were, again, a gun was to the head, and we said we need 10,000 new subscribers in a year. Got to have 10,000 subscribers. We've got to generate something like $500,000 in revenue. That means we're talking about at least a $50 publication. God help us all. We'll see how that plays out when the price testing actually starts. We were hopeful of a 0.7 expense ratio, meaning for every dollar spent, we didn't want to lose more than 30 cents. We figured we could hide that easily enough and just explain that away as it's the cost of doing what we did. We didn't actually lose money. Mr. CFO, we spent some money and we got these subscribers. But we hope not to lose more than 30 cents on the dollar. And at the end of a year, we hoped that 40% of the people that we had brought in the door in the first year would stay with us. Renew, convert, whatever term you use. Folks talk about that differently. We call them first-year conversions, first-year renewals. But point was, we were hoping that after a year, 40% of everyone we brought in would stay in. So based on all that information, we had to start rolling out the different tactics of what we actually did that takes into account all these things that we think we identified along the way. So we started with posts to the website. We started with blogs. We started with articles on the website about investing for income. We started with chats. See our new chat. The editor is going to talk about investing for income. Click for more information here. Information in the articles on investing wouldn't feature either banner ads or text links. Get more information on investing for income. Click here. All of those touch points on the web, whether they were for a chat, a video, a slideshow, whether it was content in an article that had a text link, or whether it was a banner ad on the web itself, all led folks to a landing page where we told them about Kiplinger's Investing for Income, and then it was loaded with links where they could click for a sample issue, PDF, and download the sample issue, an 8-page sample issue PDF, and just get through the process right away. They've become aware that there's this article, that there's this publication. They've become engaged with it by getting a sample issue. We've educated them about it, all within the space of them having visited our website and taken part in a chat or a blog or having read a different article on the website. Something like that has led them to find this link. They click, they read about the publication, they download a sample issue. We've taken them through the pipeline in a relatively brief amount of space. Up to them. We're not forcing anybody through that pipeline. They get there when they get there, but it can be within a matter of minutes. The way we handled it on the print front was to send inserts in our fulfillment mail to our existing subscribers. If you were a Kiplinger subscriber to another magazine or another publication, you got a copy of Kiplinger's Investing for Income delivered with your fulfillment. Hey, here's this new thing. It's free. Here's a sample issue. Go on, you silly. Read it, look at it. We relied on the editor's image and we relied on the editor's own testimony to sell the publication. Hi, I'm Jeff Cosnett. You may know me from Kiplinger's Personal Finance magazine. I write about income all the time. I write about investing all the time. I've started a new publication just for people like you because you ask me this all the time. This is going to answer all your questions. So the newsletter sample and Jeff's smiling face and personal testimonial about who he is and how he can help you was sent to all of our existing subscribers in print. They got an issue. This was education, this was engagement, this was also persuasion, because of course that package included an order form. So on the one hand, you've got emails going out to people doing the same thing that Jeff's letter and the sample issue did in print. You've got the email going out. You've got the inserts going out to our existing subscribers. You've got the links, you've got the chats, you've got the slideshows and everything else happening on the web for people who may not already be a Kiplinger subscriber. In all of that, you have multiple touch points where people can become aware, can become educated about, can engage with in the form of taking more content for free, including and specifically a sample issue, whether it's a printed sample issue or a PDF download. And then, of course, all of those things always came with an order form attached. If you want to keep this coming every month, respond. End of that process, it was time to figure out what we wanted to achieve. The metrics for awareness and focus consisted on how people were hitting the links on the web pages, or how people were clicking in the links that we sent them via email. So we knew when people clicked this link, we knew that content was a better way for us to approach these ads. People don't really click on banner ads. Come to find out, they like it when there's a story about investing on the website, and we link them to a story by saying, hey, there's more on this, investing for income, read this article here. A lot of folks hit that. Not so many people hit banner ads. We found out that people like certain kinds of presentations made in their email, but those were the metrics for us. How do people want to find this information? That's what we'll do more of down the road. We knew that for the education part of this process, we knew that people wanted more information. We wanted to track how they wanted to get it, so people would sign up for what we call e-alerts. You may call them e-zines. We knew that people wanted more information by asking questions of the editors. We knew that people wanted more information by the links they would subsequently hit on the website. You follow all of that behavior on the web, and you find out what it is they're chasing down. What are they trying to get more of? So we will do more of that to them. For the engagement, we knew that people would want to see the publication. The best way we could engage them was to offer them opportunities to take part in chats, offer them opportunities to come and contribute on the blog, see slideshows. But the big one was, you want to see an issue? It's free. Download it now. Click. 8-page issue. Download the PDF. The PDF happens to have an order form on it. It's the ultimate education, awareness, engagement, persuasion vehicle all in one. It's the test drive of the Toyota Prius. It's doing a free load of laundry with your Tide and comparing the results to your Dingy. It is what we relied on for the ultimate in the whole funnel. Taking people from awareness through persuasion was that sample. And that's how we sell all of our publications, and for that reason. Long story short, that's how Kiplinger did it. It was a pretty quick process in most cases, from becoming aware to being made an offer. Again, it's the steps that are important, not the time frame that it took Kiplinger to get through it. Your time frame may be different depending on the size and type of product that you're selling, and the cost and the complexity of the offer. Our results were very, very good. We achieved what we set out to do. We launched this publication in May of 2012, and by January we had 11,500 subscribers. May to May, 1 year actually, we topped out at a little over 13,500 subscribers. So we felt fortunate to have hit our target. We found out that $79 was the price people wanted to pay. Our notoriously value-minded subscriber would shell out $79 a year for 12 issues of this stuff. So we were gratified to find out that they do have a pen that writes numbers higher than 2 and 3. We also found out that we actually, not only did we not lose money, the CFO was pleased to discover that we generated cash in the first year on this thing. We returned $1.60 for every dollar we spent on direct marketing efforts, and we actually put some cash in the bank rather than lost it. And so far, because we're only a little more than a year out from launch, we've only got the first 3 renewal groups through the pipeline, but we're seeing that each of those first 3 renewal month groups have come through at somewhere between 47 and 57% renewed. So it's been a very, very, very healthy renewal cycle so far. We think that's going to hold up. There shouldn't be any reason why people we sold later in the process would behave too much differently from the people we sold first. It's still the same general group of people. So we think we're going to be very, very happy with the renewal when it's all said and done. And with that thus concludes how Kiplinger walks people through this content marketing strategy. Molly will finish up and tell you how you can do it too.
Great. Well, thank you very much for walking us through that. I love that case study for a number of reasons. First of all, it's very thorough. Clearly goes through all of the steps you need to go through when you're developing your content marketing strategies and plans. Secondly, love the way they did testing throughout, testing and learning before they made big investments. And that's really, really important, particularly for smaller companies. But honestly, regardless of company size, you're never at the point where you're saying, I have way too many people working on this. I have too much money and I don't know what to do. It's always a concern when it comes to the budget. So I think this is applicable regardless. I also like how it's scalable, that they started off small but had plans to go larger and larger as they determined what worked and what didn't work for them. Since that was a B2C example, I just wanted to walk you through some tactics that are effective in B2B. This comes out of the Content Marketing Institute's annual study. They did it earlier this year, and what they found was the most effective B2B topics when it comes to content marketing tend to be in-person events, case studies, videos and webinars, those things really get you engaged, and blogs. I want to point something out, though. When I dug into the data behind this information, what I found was the group of people that were classified as the most effective content marketers didn't have this exact same order. They took blogs that are in here at 62%. That was on average. For the most effective marketers, it was actually their #1 tactic, and it was just above the level for in-person events. So remember the role of your blog. It really can be effective in B2B, and as I said, it's great when it comes to search engine optimization. There are a number of challenges when we get into, I'm sorry, skipping ahead, just to map some of the tactics to strategies for you, because I know people struggle with what tactic do I use for which content marketing strategy. Just to go through the 4 strategies that Chris used here, I wanted to give you a little extra detail on some things that could have been used. So when you're talking about building awareness, certainly pay-per-click ads, PR is very helpful on that front. Ads in Facebook, if that's the right target audience for you. LinkedIn's actually a very good place for ads if you have a very targeted audience, because you can place those ads within specific groups that you know are interested in what you offer. Infographics are also a great way to go. When it comes to education, I love white papers. You get a ton of downloads on white papers. It's a great lead generation mechanism, and because you're publishers, you can go back to what you've published in the past, maybe put together a collection of a few articles on the same topic. You've got a white paper. So it doesn't involve recreating things, maybe partially modifying things. Videos are also great, and they're becoming more and more popular. The other day I had to clean out my sink in my bathroom, and I couldn't figure out how to get the stopper out of it. I went on YouTube and found some plumber who was demonstrating this. But you can find a YouTube on absolutely anything, a YouTube video. Great tool for education. SlideShare is also great. When we talk about engagement, social media is certainly a natural way to do that. Webinars are another way to go about that. And for B2B in particular, when you get into the last cycle of persuasion and trying to close, I find return on investment analyses are very important. They might be lifetime customer analyses, things of that sort, helping your customer identify where the money is for them if they go with you over the competition. Do checklists. Those also really help. It's a quick read for you versus the competition. Case studies also help out in demos, of course. Now to the not yet to the 3 problems. Don't forget, don't forget, you've got to measure after you do all of this. And if you're time constrained and you think, well, I'll measure later, don't do it that way. Cut down your number of tactics. Don't try to do everything at once. Do a few things. Chris mentioned they did that. Do a few things, test them out, figure out what's working, then decide where you're going to expand and where you're not going to expand. You don't have to do all these tactics at the same time. And we've got
Yes.
Want to know about 3 problems?
Do you?
Want to know about the big 3 problems?
The 3 biggest problems that content marketers have include, first of all, finding the time to generate the content. To be effective with content marketing, you have to have fresh content. Obviously, blogging is a great way to do that, but you need to make sure you follow the publishing mantra. Repurpose, recycle, reuse the content you've already developed. Partner. I actually am working with a publisher right now who partners up with other companies in order to get more content for their website. They're publishing up with, or working with software companies that aren't in the exact same space and can cover slightly different topics, but it augments what they have to offer. Share the load, make sure it's not just your marketers that are developing content, obviously the publishing group, if you've got people who are specialists in technology, all of those people can add to the mix. Another issue is engaging your audience. That's always a challenge. Make sure you don't just focus on yourself when you're talking to them. Publishers don't tend to do this anyways. You're generally focused on the needs of your customers. The general rule is 80-20. You need to get, if you've got 20% of your content focused on you, make sure at least 80% is focused on your customer. And if you run out of stories about your customer, focus on your customer's customer, because they're also interested in that. When it comes to finding something that's engaging, if you find that, say, your top 3 list of best practices is a really popular article, you can bet if you flip that around and do top 3 mistakes, that's also going to be a really popular article. So make sure you look at the different sides of things. And then also look at consumer media, all sorts of interesting things going on in that front. The last challenge is variety. And for this one, I like to look at what Discovery Channel does. We're talking about terms called tent poles. These are the things that you want to focus on and make sure you make it into a big bang every year. This is the support for your overall content marketing strategy. Think about what Discovery Channel does. How many people have heard of Shark Week? How many people know it happens every year? All right. Their content marketing strategy is working. We all know we're going to start hearing about Shark Week at least 5 weeks in advance of Shark Week. And they've got content everywhere about Shark Week. If you go into a Discovery Channel store, they've got the sharks up front. They've got the books about the sharks. And they engage not just the audience that's likely to watch Shark Week, they engage their entire customer base from the kids on up. But it's all about that one tent pole. Then they move on to Earthquake Week, and then they've got all the other weeks. Current events are another way you can add variety. That's something we did at Bloomberg, where when tax was a discussion at BNA, we really brought those discussions into our blogs and into our emails, things of that sort. And of course, you can always borrow ideas from other folks. So with that, what we'd like to do is move into the QA discussion. Anybody have any questions for either Chris or I?
Here you go.
I think Ron's got a...
Yeah, I was just wondering, you guys talked a little bit, you mentioned SlideShare in passing. You also mentioned slides, as it was on one of the tables, about one way to do content marketing for the publication you launched. Could you talk a little bit more about how you use some ideas for using SlideShare and or slides? Because we've thought about that, but I'm not quite sure what to put on them.
You want to...
Two different things. Molly will address one, and I'll tell you how we do it on the web.
When it comes to using SlideShare, I absolutely recommend that you develop a category that people can subscribe to. I actually think Kiplinger's got this going on. You can do the same thing with YouTube videos. You can develop a little category, and people can subscribe to it. They can get your information whenever you update it. Go ahead and post things in SlideShare, but I recommend you have the links from your website into SlideShare, and don't let people download from SlideShare itself. That way, you're driving people back and forth. If they want to actually download something, make them go back to your website and sign up for it so that you're getting the content. Did you want to add to that at all?
About slideshows on the website itself, That's a little bit of a different thing. That's a content ploy, and it's an eyeballs viewing more pages ploy. If we have a story about the 10 most affordable colleges for your child, okay, if you write that as a story, it appears on a page. People who want to see that content will click on that page, and that if 10,000 people want to read that story, you've now served that page to 10,000 eyeballs. If you turn it into a series of slides, college number 1, blah, 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 click here for college number 2, blah, blah, blah. Now you're taking those 10,000 eyeballs through 7 clicks, 8 clicks, 9 clicks, however, before they die of exhaustion. So that's what I'm referring to with this slideshow thing. We could just make sure that the web kids in charge of instituting this thing to sell more ads and to get more money for their clicks are capturing the data to know where people bail out in the line, which slideshows are getting clicked on, what are the topic areas that most people express an interest in. That's what we do with slideshows. They're available. We make them out of stories. You asked where to get the content. Just turn a regular story into a series of slides, paragraph by paragraph, step by step, topic by topic, whatever it might logically be for your content, and then count where people are dwelling or where they're bailing out. And they will identify for you what topics they're interested in.
And one other thing, when you go the path of taking a story and putting it into a slideshow, because you want to get those extra page clicks, if you can incorporate a headline that tells them exactly what the slide is about so they don't have to read the sidebar, that's very helpful when you're using an iPad or something like that, because a lot of times SlideShare doesn't adjust for iPads.
Okay, I want to thank Molly and Chris. We'll go into there's a break now, so if you do have any other questions, you can catch up to them right here or in the exhibition hall.
Long and prosper.
Okay, thanks a lot. That was great.
Thank you all very much, and good luck with everything.